David Taylor, for those of you who don't know him, David's written many books, but I first encountered David some years ago through a book he wrote called The Naked Leader. That book became an international bestseller. I think I even bought my copy in Tesco's or something daft like that. It became a ubiquitous book for a time, and it spawned a number of very successful follow-up books as well, mostly with the title "Naked" in them, which David will explain more about on his when he talks. But on the back of that, I contacted David right at the beginning of Social Club in 2015 or 16, I think, and asked him to come and join us. And he actually spoke to us on the day, I think it was the day after we voted to leave the European Union, when everybody was somewhat perturbed, except the odd secret Brexiteer among us. And he managed to lift us, and he managed to help us see that this probably wasn't the end of the world as we knew it, and we did a really great session with him. That was right at the beginning of Social Club 4 or 5 years ago. David's back again today, and he's out there in all sectors with Naked Leader and all of the stuff he's doing. So it's a delight to have you back, David. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us today. And the stage is yours for the next for the next 45 or so minutes. So welcome back to Social Club. David Taylor, over to you.
Thank you, Craig. So how do you want to do this in terms of interaction? Because I was thinking around 20 minutes of sharing the 7 top things, and then we'd have the interaction after that. Is that okay?
Go for it. Go for it.
That'd be brilliant. Thank you, Craig. Well, thank you for thank you for that incredible introduction, which I still don't think I deserve, but thank you. I want to thank you all for being here. Particularly, may I just thank Joe for your incredible efficiency and hard work. And Joe even did a dress rehearsal of this, which was really just checking me out. And also to you, Craig. This is when lockdown happened, we wondered what we could do to make a difference. We only have 3 people in Naked Leader, but we have over 100 coaches in the UK and another 30 in China. We don't mention China so much at the moment. We've got offices in Shanghai and here in Woking. And we wondered what we could do to put something back. And because we know the NHS very well, we decided to do free Zoom calls on well-being, confidence, and personal resilience. And this is a variation of that, what we covered there based on discussion I had with Joe. We've now done 56 as a company. I've personally done 29 such calls, and we're very, very honored to do those calls. I've been Zoom bombed twice. Others have been Zoom bombed as well. The most dramatic Zoom bomb I had was on my second call when I had 197 on the NHS in one of the Birmingham trusts, when a lady called Debbie Nurse joined about halfway through. Hence, I think Joe locking the room sometimes is a good idea. But unfortunately, she forgot to get dressed. So she joined completely naked. And it didn't dawn on me. We usually have somebody else on Naked Leader on the call because we've got Joe here and you, Craig. I don't need that today. But I got this text saying, WhatsApp saying there seems to be somebody on who's naked, and it was the most bizarre WhatsApp I think I've ever received. So I sort of noticed it, and I suggested that she maybe goes and gets dressed, and she started shouting profanities at us all, and then left. And so that was quite a shock. I have to say, I'm not having a go at Zoom here. I mean, they've gone from 10 million users to over 400 million. They're desperately trying to catch up on security, but it was certainly a sort of deep end of the full introduction to it all. The third thing I'd like to say to you all is thank you to all of you. The reason I said I'd do this with Craig, and the reason I wanted to do this with Craig, I'm Brendan. Brendan and I go back as well. We're both Evertonians as well, which is fantastic because we love mid-table positions. It was to say thank you to you. We're only doing this for charities. We're only doing this for the NHS and Samaritans, Hospice UK, etc. So thank you to you for all the work that you're doing. And probably not, your charity may not be getting the sort of publicity and not that that's why you do it, but the sort of recognition that you may deserve. The final thing I'll say is I'm going to share with you 7 of the most powerful how-tos with regard to confidence, wellness, and personal resilience. None of them, I'm really not a very talented guy. I'm just an ordinary guy who got very lucky with a book, as Craig talks about The Naked Leader. The Naked Leader became the fast-selling business book in the world by selling 11,000 copies when we only printed 250. That's because a certain professor, as we're putting this in the public domain, I won't say who it is, of a business school, wrote an email to 31,000 students telling them not to buy my book because it was the single most dangerous business book in the world. It suggested you could achieve anything you want without education, which he said in the email was patently ridiculous. I had to look up patently what that meant. Half those wonderful students, because they were told not to do it, bought it. So there's how-to number one. If you want somebody to do something, tell them not to do it. They're far more likely to want to do it. So everything I'm sharing with you, basically the reason for naked is there's two real. One is that we're born naked. Do we fulfill the promise of our first few seconds? And we die naked, stretching that one a bit in order to avoid any regrets in our last. But the main naked is we strip away the hype, jargon, and mystery from most of these books. I mean, I've got a book here called, with all no respect whatsoever to the author, Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, and it is that thick. And basically what it says is part of our brain thinks fast and part of our brain thinks slow. Let's cut through all the hype, jargon, and mystery from all this stuff and just get to the how-tos, because people want to know what to do. People right now want to know exactly what to do, obviously to stay healthy, safe. What can we do about mental wellness? What can I do for my friends? How can I look after people? What's going to happen with my business? And it all comes down to why people do what they do. And that's the only skill I have, really, is I know why people do what they do. I know exactly why people do what they do. If you're all ready, I will start at number 7. So back in 1998, I left corporate life with Cornhill Insurance. I can't remember why I left. I think it's something to do with being bored, stupid. And so I basically set out on my own as a coach. And then I got some advice from a guy called Rene Carriot, who you may have come across. And he said, write a book. He actually said, write a book, write a book, write a book. And I asked him for 3 pieces of advice. And so I decided to write a book that cut through all the hype and the jargon and the mystery. We published it as Naked Leader. And in publishing that, we discovered, probably more than 400 formulas for success. I mean, there are so many success structures out there. I see on LinkedIn that the next business age, we're now going to have completely new formulas for success. So basically, me, my wife, several coaches took about a year to see if we could simplify those formulas. And we decided our aim would be to get it down to a business card. So a combination of every formula for success that's out there, and also what you do every day when you're successful, is this. Know where you want to go, know where you are now, and know what you have to do to get to where you want to go, and then do it. And that's not quite a business card, but we now have it on a business card as well. Business card size. Okay, simple is never easy. By the way, this is only my opinions, okay? Obviously, if you don't agree with something that I suggest you do, can I suggest you do the complete opposite? I really don't mind, as long as it helps you achieve success in your life. So I'll make suggestions, and if you don't agree with them, fine, don't do something else. These are just my ideas in terms of the real world. And basically, we discovered that success is no longer a matter of chance, actually change, which has become a meaningless word. It's a matter of choice. And we also discovered that this formula for guaranteed success, when it's put up against reality, it actually works. So think about from this morning, everything that you've done, every single thing that you've done this morning, you followed that formula. You're lying in bed, know where I want to go. I want to get out of bed. Where am I now? I'm lying in bed. What do I have to do? Lift one leg out and then the other, and then you do it. And we do this consciously every single day for lots of small things. And now we consciously know it, and then we can actually apply it. So I'm going to use that formula now to run through the rest. The key thing is, and Joe, I'll send that through to you so that you can send it out. It's not, thank you, Craig, for mouthing thank you. And number 6, know where you want to go. So the first part, what's your outcome? What's your outcome? I don't know about you, but it slightly does my head in when organizations talk about aim, mission, goal, purpose, and all. I mean, there's probably about 10, 15 of them. What's your outcome? I think organizations, projects, teams, we lose track of outcomes. What actual outcome do you want? It's interesting when we work in organizations that are in trouble, and we go in with a project that's in trouble, and people tend to move basically between here and here. The really negative people say, oh, they wallow around where they are now, and then the really positive people, let's just do this. What's your outcome? What's your outcome? Yes, Craig.
David, just quickly, we might not be able to see what's on the cards. So when you're referring to them, if you could just say what the sense, what the
I really do apologise. Yes, I must upgrade my camera. Okay, so with regard to know where you want to go, we're talking at this part of the formula. What's your outcome? And what's your outcome is also a very disarming question to ask people. So, for example, our daughter's recently started work a few years ago, and she had her first review, and she phoned me up and said, my boss has told me to be very honest, and I think he's a bit of a, I won't tell you what word she used, but she obviously didn't get on very well with him. Do you think that's a good idea? Now, a few years ago, I said, don't say that, you'll get into terrible trouble. So what I said was, well, it depends what outcome you want. And she said, okay, I won't say it. What's your outcome is such a powerful phrase to say to people because it gives them power back. The key thing with knowing where you want to go is focusing on what you want, not what you don't want. I'm sure you have people around you in your organization who are constantly going on about what won't work, what might work. And this is so important from a psychology point of view, because the way our brains are structured, and this is pop psychology drawn from many psychology people who are around Naked Leader. We have a conscious and a subconscious mind, and that's my head and my shoulders, so I don't know where they are. When we believe something to be true with our conscious mind, our subconscious mind makes it true. And just to prove that with you now, we're going to now replicate a study that was done by a major British university that took them 18 months. It took them 18 months to do what? Should we try and replicate that in 18 seconds? Are you up for that? 18 seconds? Yeah? Okay. Ready? Go. Hands up all the people on the call here on video who think you've got a pretty good memory. Just put it in your hand. Do you find you remember things? Yep, great. Hands up all the people on the call who don't think you've got a very good memory. Put your hands up. Do you find you forget things? Yep. 9 seconds. Well, that saved a bit of time in our lives, didn't it? 18 months it took them to conclude in a 146-page thesis that if you believe you've got a good memory, you'll remember things, and if you believe you haven't got a good memory, you'll forget things. Forgive me, as a child said to me recently at a school, the last school I spoke to before lockdown, duh. Number 5, know where you are now. Richard Dawkins at Oxford University, you may have heard of Richard Dawkins, Oxford University science professor, an international celebrity, not a great believer in God. He basically did some studying on the chances against us being born, effectively us being conceived. What are the chances of us being conceived as individuals? So the chances against, I think, winning the lottery is 1 in 9 million, being hit by lightning is 1 in 14 million, unless you're in Gloucestershire, Cheryl, in which case I think it's probably slightly lower, so be careful with that umbrella. And what do you think the chances are against us being conceived? 1 in what? Just shout out. You can come off mute and shout out, please. Anyone? Yes, John, you're about to say something, I think. No, you're not. Anyone?
Yeah, 15. 1 in 15 million.
1 in 15 million. Wow, 1 in 15 million chances against being born. That's a good start. Anyone like to go any higher?
50 million.
1 in 50 million from Brendan. Yeah, 1 in 50 million. Chance of Everton winning the Premiership as well. That's great.
Similar.
Yes. Okay, let's go with 1 in 50 million, because 1 in 50 million would mean that, Brendan, for you, walking around, that means that there's 50 million people minus 1 who never quite made it. That would be pretty unique. Yeah, do you agree with that? Richard Dawkins concluded the chances against you being born, conceived, are 1 in 10 trillion to the power of 4. 1 in 10 trillion to the power of 4. Because they basically concluded that the amount of possible people, the amount of DNA on the planet, basically outnumbers every blade of grass and every grain of sand in the world. Unfortunately, though, having published that in the first 3 of my books, Richard Dawkins sent out a general email saying he got the figure wrong. So, of course, I'm about to think, oh, my God, I mean, you know, the 3 people who bought my books are not going to be very happy at all. But basically, he got it wrong because, can you believe this? They didn't consider your mum or your dad or your grandparents on both sides or your great-grandparents. So actually, Richard Dawkins has concluded the chances of you being here are 0. Scientifically, we don't exist. And yet here we are. Here we are, we lucky few that made it through. I'm sure in your life you've been told you're good or you're bad. I'm sure you've been told that you're right or you're wrong. I'm sure you've been told you're this or you're that. And all I can say with absolute certainty is, you're you. You're you. We have a saying in Naked Leader, and it's not be more than what you've become. That's the sort of Daily Mail message with no respect whatsoever to that rag and media. There's the sort of American West Coast message that be the very best you can be, which is really, oh yeah, go for it. Our message is very simple. Don't be more than what you've become. Do not be the very best that you can be. Simply decide today and send this message to as many people as you can to be the very best that you already are. Because bizarrely, on the day you were born, and you made it through, remember, when 10 trillion to the power of 4 minus 1 people didn't get through, you were only born with 2 natural fears. Anyone like to guess what the natural fears were that you were actually born with? Anyone? Yes, please join in, please. It's okay to say. You can say anything, honestly.
Yes.
Loud noise.
Death, loud noises. Yes, loud noises was one. Death was said very enthusiastically there.
Fear of falling.
Fear of falling and fear of loud noises. Absolutely. Now we do get a fear of death. We get a fear of darkness. If we are not put in light very quickly, if we're not fed very quickly. But the only 2 natural things that we're born with are a fear of falling, which we need in order to learn to walk, and a fear of loud noises, which we get over by the time we're teenagers. Every other fear we have is literally made up. And did you notice just there, or have you noticed just now, that as I'm saying that to you, wherever you are listening to this, it could well be that you suddenly feel a moment of absolute calm, of relaxation, and you're sinking back in your chair. That's right. Very good. Because guess what? Can you come up to the cameras, please? Because this is a secret. You need to come up to the cameras. There's nothing wrong with you. Thank goodness for that. At number 4, know what you have to do to get to where you want to go. And because I really wanted this to be an interactive session guided by Joe and Craig, because they're the best sessions. You go on these sessions with 900 NHS people and you kind of make it a webinar and they disappear and you never quite know what it was about really. So I've really thought about the three top things to do. The 3 top things to do. The first one is the fastest way to make it. The first one is the most powerful how-to I know. The fastest way to make any change in your life is to act as if that change has already been made. Our minds cannot tell the difference between something that happens in reality and something we imagine with emotional intensity. And so the fastest way is to actually achieve something is pretend you've already achieved it. Act as if you've already achieved it. If you're about to go in for a difficult meeting, how would you stand if you were confident? How would you stand? What would you feel if you were confident? And that will start to make you feel confident. If you have a disagreement with a partner, rather than build on that and have a big row, I did this with my wife Rosalind actually when I first discovered this, and she came in and said something, I don't know, something that I've left the fridge door open, and I could easily say, well, I very rarely leave the fridge door open, and she would have said, you did in May 2 years ago, because she keeps a record of these things in her head. So she said, you left the fridge door open and such, and the milk's gone off, and I looked at her and I said, I love you so much, especially when you come to me and say things like that. Gave her a kiss on the cheek and walked out. And the thing was diffused. Now, if you say it in the wrong way without sincerity, it could just wind people up. So be very careful how you say it. You have to be absolutely sincere. But my best example of this builds on memory. And this builds on memory again. Dominic O'Brien basically decided that he had the worst memory in the world. And then he changed his mind. Apparently, he was in a seminar. To having the best memory in the world, and he was going to act as if he had the best memory in the world. And I think he was probably taking the whatever out of the material. Dominic O'Brien won the World Memory Championships about 11 months later, and he won it 8 years running. And when he was asked about this phenomenal memory that he had and how long it took to develop, he said, "Never mind about that. I really transformed my memory when I decided that I had the best memory in the world." And the other quick example for you is, in case you're wondering why children on the continent learn languages quicker than we do, perhaps in the United Kingdom, I don't know where Ireland sits on this, it's because the moment a child on the continent knows that the French word for yes is oui, they are basically told they can now speak French. They can now speak French. And the brain works in this way. You're far more likely to get somebody to do something by giving them standards to live up to, not down to. So when you tell somebody you can speak French, you just need there's a few more words might be useful. They're far more likely to want to speak French and be encouraged to speak French and actually speak French than if we do in this country, which we say, oh, I get by, And the funny thing about I get by is that the percentage of the English language that we actually speak, I mean, I think we're all pretty young and intelligent and on this call, is probably about 0.5% in terms of the number of words. So we don't even speak English according to us. So there's some examples of acting as if. At number 3, ask for help. Ask for help and get your people to ask for help. I sort of had a bit of a go about the people talking about the next business age just now. I wasn't having a go at them. I think all this input is great. I will say one thing that I think is going to run through everything. The world is changing. Asking for help as a leader's position doesn't matter anymore. We call it the naked leader test of leadership. If you are stripped of your job title and your position, if you are stripped of all of your apparent power, could you still get the best out of your people? Those days are coming. Those days are coming. And also, I was wrong. I need help. I don't know are going to be among the top phrases used by leaders in the future. Because the way we put it in Naked Leader is whatever does happen after this pandemic is going to be one major change. Organizations that want to survive and thrive are going to have to stop wrapping their people around the organization. And they're going to have to start wrapping the organization around their people. You want to work 3 days a week and work 2 days for a charity, that's fine. And the real example of this is Skanska, the Swedish construction giant, who now give people now the freedom to give themselves their own job titles. Skanska let people work whatever hours they want. People in Tesco are now, the first day they join Tesco, they're basically asked, what would you change in Tesco? Because we really want to hear, before you get sort of driven into the culture. But the bottom line is this, ask for help. And we're very fortunate in Naked Leader. We always mentor somebody in the Prince's Trust. I'm mentoring a 19-year-old girl. I won't go into her story, even if it was keep it anonymous, because I couldn't cope. But I couldn't teach her anything on resilience. It's mutual mentoring. I said to her, how do you want me to keep in touch during the pandemic? You can phone me. How do you want me to keep in touch? She said, make me private updates on TikTok. So I had a very, very quick learning of what TikTok was and how to do private videos, which sounds a bit dodgy, but it's not, and updates. And that's the only way that she basically accepts communication from me. Oh my God, I've learned a lot. At number 2, you may remember that I said to you that basically our brain, oh no, I didn't say this yet. Our brain, what's the brain's number 1 role? What is the brain's number 1 purpose? Why does our brain exist? Does anyone like to share what its number 1 role is?
To learn. Keep us safe. To
keep us safe, Jude. And I'm particularly pleased you said that, because you've had a stranger wandering in and out of your room for the last 20 minutes, and I was getting a little bit concerned about your own health. I hope you knew that person. And they were waving their arms around in the mirror of your cabinet there as well. So I'm very glad you've come in to say keep us safe, because that is the main role of the brain. It keeps us safe. And in order to keep us safe, it wants to conserve energy. By the way, this is a summary of some quite big books here that are here. Okay, so I'm sure there's more to it than this, but in principle, our brain exists to keep us safe. In order to do that, it conserves energy. And the way it conserves energy is it works on association. Our brains and our lives run on association. Because when something happens, we think, what's that like? We don't think of it consciously. When you go through the formula for guaranteed success and you reach to wash your hands, say, you don't look at the tap and think, what's that like consciously? Oh, what do I have to do to make it come? What's that water? We do it all subconsciously, and that's how our brains operate. And so because of that, our brains judge things all the time. All the time, our brain thinks, oh, there's an event. What's that like? Ah, that's good or bad. And so I need to react accordingly. So at number 2, if you can do this, it is so cathartic and powerful and will help your well-being. Maybe just for a day, maybe just for a morning, maybe just for an hour. Just notice. Just notice stuff without any judgment whatsoever. Just notice. Rosalind and I have been going on our daily walks, and she's fascinated by flowers, and I can't say that's my number 1 topic of interest, but she said, just notice them. And the moment she said that, it was transformational. Just transformational. I don't need to know what the flower is called. I just notice things. And the best piece of advice I had for the lockdown came from a very good friend of mine who runs the London Business Forum, and he said, get hold of one of those little books you've got in your drawer that you never really drawn on, but it looked nice and you bought it, and record 3 things a day that are absolutely wonderful. Because when you start noticing, what you actually do is you switch off the negative part of your brain and you just start noticing things. So I started on March the 25th with 3, and it's built up now. And when you say to your brain, because of the way our brain works, I mean, yesterday, 21 amazing things happened to me. And that's me, that's personal. I think the key thing here is this. When you notice, you record your achievements and what's amazing in the world around you, as well as your plans. And you are amazing. You are the ones that are heroes at the moment, not me. You're the ones that are heroes. You're the ones that are leading charities. You're the ones that are social entrepreneurs who want to change the world for good. You're the ones, along with the NHS and Hospice UK and all the other charities, that are doing the amazing things. So just notice. And I'm going to share with you now a way of living in the moment, because a lot of these spiritual books say live in the now, but they kind of go on logically and tell us. And we discovered through our work with China, in particular Chinese religious Zen monasteries, we've discovered a real secret in terms of living in the moment. So what I'm going to do is we're going to quieten your inner voice. And if you don't mind closing your eyes now, if you're on audio and you're walking down a main street, can you make sure you're not in the middle of the road? And if you want to just nip into somewhere quiet, if you want to do this. Okay, so please, everyone on the call, please, I'd like you to close your eyes. I'd like you to close your eyes, please, and I'd like you to acknowledge that inner voice. This is the inner voice that chats and chats and chats. It's the one that tells you what's wrong with you. And if any of you are thinking, I don't have an inner voice, that's the one. That's the voice. And as you acknowledge your inner voice, as you acknowledge it, I'd like you to welcome it in and just say in complete silence, with complete belief and love, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you'll notice it is going quiet. And it's getting quieter. And it's gone. And with your eyes still closed, I'd like you to say to yourselves the following words in silence. I allow this moment to be as it is. And here's the secret. With your eyes closed, please, the big secret we learned from China. When you do this, be call it relaxation, meditation, whatever you want to call it, instead of fighting things when they come in or switching your focus to your breath, which if that works for you, that's fine. The secret we found is welcome in those thoughts. Just welcome them in. And if you welcome in any thoughts, like you do perhaps right now, you'll find they complete themselves, dissolve, and disappear. Thank you for doing that. Please open your eyes. This is a very we can have discussions on this in Q&A, but it's a very strange setup on a Zoom call. So do try those things out when you get some relaxation moments to yourself. Oh, we've got a brand new one for today that isn't in the 7, which I'll just throw in now. And it came as a result of a talk with a psychologist from Loughborough University just before I joined this call. He said, I've discovered the wonderful words that will help you sleep. So here's a phrase for you if you've got a pen. I haven't tried this yet, by the way. So obviously if it doesn't work, it's his fault. But if it does, it's me. If you say to yourself when you're lying in bed, oh, why can't I sleep? I want to sleep. I want to sleep. You're never going to get to sleep. And they've done this research and they've come up with the following phrase. I allow myself, in silence, by the way, I allow myself not to sleep. And by the way, I've no idea how these people do their research in these, but we nick it. We just take it. They've probably spent 6 months monitoring people in bed, which sounds a bit dodgy, but just come up with that phrase, share it with the world. I allow myself not to sleep. But I can see why it works, because you're kind of you're allowing yourself not to do something, and the brain quite likes not to do something. So I'm going to try that one out tonight. I don't know about you. And at number 1, be yourself and let other people be themselves. This is the new big thing in the future, not just about our personalities, but about our genders and about our beliefs. Let people be themselves. The whole of Naked Leader really came in terms of when the book took off and changed my life completely and changed our family's life completely. We really needed some kind of, what does Naked Leader stand for? And we watched Bridget Jones' Diary just to sort of have a break from it all. Any of you seen Bridget Jones' Diary? And when Colin Firth comes running down the stairs and said to Rennie, unpronounceable, no, I like you. And when she's saying, oh, you like this, whatever, no, I like you just as you are. And that was it for us. Be the very best that you already are. And that's why Veolia have got little stickers all over their offices. Let me be me. Let Karen be Karen. Let Mike be Mike. Because the big thing in the future for organizations is not to think of the talent they've got missing. It's to unlock the unlimited strengths and passions and ideas in the people they already have. You know, if all organizations did was that one thing and let people be themselves, organizations would fly. They would absolutely fly. And linked in with this, I've got two other things for you and before we finish in terms of being yourself. The second thing is this. One of our biggest worries that stops us doing things, even successful entrepreneurs and successful chief executives, is we're a little bit worried sometimes what other people think of us. We have this slight fear of being found out even, and many chief executives share this. Can I just tell you a little secret in terms of what other people think of you? They don't think about you that much, okay? Because they're worried about what you think of them, okay? So I don't want to sort of burst your ego, but people don't spend that much time worrying about it, worrying about it. This is how you get over it. Give unconditional kindness, respect, and love to anyone and everyone you meet every day, including and especially yourself. Including and especially yourself. So if you hear that somebody doesn't like what you're doing, or they hate you or whatever, that's not going to have any influence on you because you respect that. You respect their right to do that. Because if we're not doing things that are changing the world, we're not doing things that are going to be controversial at times. And the final thing is, on being yourself, do what works. It's okay. It's okay. Do what works. Seriously, the whole idea of this formula when it comes to do it is do what works for you. Don't worry about anything I've said. Have an outcome. Have an outcome. Take ownership of how amazing you are and spread that word to as many people as you can that they are extraordinary. Our daughter, I don't know why I went like that. She's not over there. She basically diagnosed with severe dyspraxia at the age of 8. Was told she was something wrong with her. She had to stay late for, have extra time for exams in school. She had to sit in detention almost every day. And then one day she finished a fiendish Sudoku in the Times in front of my eyes in about 9 minutes, and a super fiendish in about 11. And we realized she had an amazing ability at maths. And she basically homed in on this amazing ability and the new love she'd found for maths. She went to Southampton University. She got a first in maths, and now she's head of finance for OpenReach. If she can achieve that, trust me, in her words, and she knows I'm speaking to all of you today, from her, if she can achieve that, we can achieve anything. We can achieve literally anything. Why is it that we focus all the time on what's wrong with people rather than what's right with people? And although I say there's nothing wrong with you, that's my view. But if you do think there's something wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you that can't be fixed by what's right with you. And know what you have to do to get to where you want to go. Make a choice, make a decision, and then do something. And if it takes you closer to where you want to go, keep doing more of the same. And if it takes you further away, do something else. And in order to finish this call, I'd like one of you, please, to end this part. Not the call, sorry, end this part. Has anyone here on the call got a child who's recently learned to walk? Anyone at all on the call that's on video? Just put your hand up. Anyone here who's got a child? Jude, I thought that was a child coming and going. Jude, please join us. Please unlock your, sorry, join us.
Yeah, and
social distancing.
And said child. There's
one what's said child's name?
Ricky.
Hello, Ricky.
Hi.
Jude, in front of Ricky, this is going to be interesting. How old is Ricky?
She's now 16. She can walk.
Yeah, well done, Ricky. What age was Ricky when she learned to walk?
13 months.
Okay, this is now the Ricky show. So Ricky, I hope you can hear this because you were amazing when you were 13 months old. Ricky, come and join your mum. You were amazing when you were 13 months. And you're still amazing at 16, of course, okay? Hi, Ricky, I'm David. Okay, these are all amazing people here. And they're all listening to you, or watching you. So what Ricky did was she had an outcome. She wanted to learn to walk, but she wanted to walk. But she didn't know it was called walking. She knew where she was. Presumably, Ricky, you were lying on the settee watching, I don't know, Breaking Bad or The Sopranos. I don't know whatever you were watching when you were 1 year old. She knew what she had to do. So she got up and she did something. Jude, please share with us, the first time ever in my life, with Ricky on your knee there or wherever she is. What did you observe Ricky doing? What did you observe her actually doing in the process of learning to walk?
Did I observe, go, crawling along the sofa, figuring out how to do it. The experimentation, you see the experimentation, right?
So what did she do after she was crawling? What did she do then?
After she crawled, she coasted around the settee and around the table and stuff.
Ambitious child. Then what happened?
And then just one day she went for it. She
took a step, yeah?
Yeah.
And did she fall over at all?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's ridiculous, Ricky. I just want you to know that's just not allowed. You are not allowed to fall over, because in the world of all these people on here, we have Microsoft Office project plans, we have Prince 2, and we plan like you wouldn't believe. And it doesn't say anything about falling over, Ricky. But I bet what happened when you fell over, Ricky, is you got back up again. Yes, Jude? Yeah, she got back up again. Now, let me tell you, Ricky, what was amazing about you at that age that so many others, including me, have forgotten. When you fell over, Ricky, you subconsciously thought to yourself, yes, I've discovered another way not to walk. This is just fantastic. And you got up again and did something different. That's the key thing that you did, Ricky. It's lovely to look at somebody who's actually been through, well, all of us have been through this experience most recently. Whereas so many people in life, they have an outcome for something they want to achieve, and they sort of take ownership of themselves, and then they decide what they're going to do, and then they do what they've always done, because 95% of what we do and say each day is usually the same as they've done the day before. And then at the end of the day, they think, oh, that wasn't a very good day, and it was nothing to do with me. But what we knew then was that children do something different every time they get up, and they keep learning and learning and learning until they learn to walk. So Ricky, is it Ricky? Yes? Yes? You are the very example of the formula for guaranteed success. And Jude, if you give your address to Joe, Ricky, I will send you a gift. I'll send you one of my books, which you may not consider to be a gift, but if there's anyone you don't like, you can give it to them from. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So those are the 7. I will just give you a very brief recap. Success is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. You know where you are, know where you want to go, watch your outcome, focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Where are you now? You're a miracle. And next time somebody asks you how you are, point that out to them, and take about 20 minutes to half an hour to do so. Number 4, the fastest way to make any change in your life, act as if the change has already taken place. Number 3, don't be scared to ask for help. Number 2, notice, don't judge, and you'll notice amazing things. Number 1, be yourself, let other people be themselves, give unconditional love, kindness, and respect to everyone. And hey, it's okay. Let's learn from Ricky. Let's do something. And if it takes you closer to your outcome, then keep doing the same thing. And if it takes you further away, do something else. And thank you for your time. And I'm afraid I've overrun by about 8 minutes. I hope that was okay. We've still got plenty of time for interaction. Thanks ever so much, everyone. I hope that was useful.
It was, David, and thank you.